everyone and welcome to another video. I know, I'm on a roll this week. There's been lots of videos, but it's good. It feels good to be on a roll and to be producing lots of videos. Today's video is a full overview, a full look at the brand new Lord of the Rings collection, which is launching on Friday the 7th of July at 7:30 p.m. British summertime. And yeah, this is just a video. I'm going to go through all the colourways, I'm going to go through the colour combinations, I'm going to go through all the samples that I've had made, the patterns that I've had made as well, and just share it all with you. Slight disclaimer before we start. It is the summer holidays here in Scotland, so both my boys are home. They're currently playing in the lounge. I have asked them to try and tone down their toilet talk, which seems to be a big thing at the moment. But if you suddenly hear cries of bottom and things like that, you know why. It's the fun of a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old in the house. Yeah. Anyway, also, if you hear a random buzzing, there is a fly somewhere in my office. I have tried to catch it, but I can't, it is eluding me. But I keep hearing it buzzing. So if it does get picked up on the microphone, then apologies. You can be as annoyed by the fly as I am. I've just spotted it actually. It's right down the other end of the room, so hopefully it will stay there. Anyway, shall we get into actually sharing some colourways? So, the Lord of the Rings collection originated as a part of, let's see if I can explain this in an organised way. Back in 2022, I ran a Middle-earth Minis yarn club. So each month throughout the year, you got 5 mini skeins inspired by characters, places, things related to J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth worlds of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. We started off with The Hobbit in the first quarter of the year, and then we went through the rest of the year going through The Lord of the Rings, starting with 3 months of The Fellowship of the Ring, 3 months of The Two Towers, and 3 months of Return of the King. Earlier this year, I launched the Hobbit collection, which was, I've forgotten off the top of my head how many colourways. Was it 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, something like that? 7, I think it was 7 colourways, based off the original 15 Hobbit colourways from the early part of the Middle-earth Minis Club. And my plan is to do the same with the Lord of the Rings ones as well. However, there were 45, is that right? 3 months of 5 for each book, so 15 colourways for each book, so 3 lots of 15 is 45. There were 45 colourways in total across the Lord of the Rings minis. So that was never going to work. I cannot do 45 colourways. So what I have done is I have broken the Lord of the Rings collection into 2 parts. The first part is launching this Friday, and it features colourways from the Fellowship of the Ring into the Two Towers. And then the second half of the collection will be launching in December, and that will feature colourways from the second half of the Two Towers into the Return of the King. And there will be 8 colourways in each collection. So I've gone back through all of the colourways that existed as part of the Middle-earth Minis Club. I've picked out some of my favourites, the ones I thought would translate best to full skeins, and things like that. And I have recreated those as 100-gram skeins, and they will be launching as part of this collection. So the collection will be available. There's lots of things. So first off, you'll be able to get full skeins of all of the colourways across all of my yarn bases. I am also going to be offering them as sock sets this time, which is not something I did for The Hobbit, but proved really popular with the Beatrix Potter collection earlier in the year. So I decided I would do that for this collection as well. The other thing I'm doing is those contrast colours that are used for the mini skeins for the sock sets, I'm going to be making available as 100-gram skeins as well. Because again, that is something that I found really popular in the Beatrix Potter collection. I had quite a few people reach out to me and ask if they could have the contrast mini as a 100-gram skein. So I'm going to make that available straight up, nice and easy for this collection. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? Shall we start with the 8 colourways? So I have them in a box. There are, as I said, 8 colourways, and we'll do them in the order that I've kind of had in my head for them. So we start off with Frodo Baggins. Frodo is quite a delicate colourway actually for a quiet little hobbit that he starts out as. He's got some delicate browns and of course pops of yellow in there as well for the ring. So that is Frodo. I'll just go through all the yarns first and then we'll look at the samples and things. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. So then we have Strider. So this is Strider. Strider is obviously Aragorn, but we come to know him as Strider when we first meet him. And it's got lots of kind of foresty browns and greens, slightly more kind of tealy pops in there as well. So that is Strider. Then we have the Fellowship of the Ring. So this is the Fellowship of the Ring. This one has lots and lots of colours in it. So it features lots of greens as well as some kind of burgundy purples and some little flashes of blue as well. And some browns in there too. It kind of, when I was coming up with this colourway, it kind of, I was inspired slightly by the films with this one and the cloaks that they all wore, which is where the greens come from. But I wanted to give a variety of colours to kind of give the feel of all the different characters. So that one is the Fellowship of the Ring. Then we have Legolas, one of my favourite characters from the series. Legolas is a mix of silvers and greens and teals. I really like this colourway as well. This is one of my favourites. So that is Legolas. Then we have Isildur's Bane, or the One Ring, which is of course a bright yellow, but we have specks of kind of golds and browns in there as well. Can you hear the fly? It's really annoying me. Sorry. So that is Isildur's Bane. Then we have Merry and Pippin, which had to be a bright, fun colour because they are amusing, an amusing pair. So we have purples and turquoises mixed in with some darker greens, and there's also some brown speckles in there. Again, the greens and browns were kind of reminiscent of the cloaks and the time they spend in the forest and things like that. So that one is Merry and Pippin. And then talking of the time they spend in the forest, we couldn't not have a Treebeard colourway. Treebeard, one of the Ents that Merry and Pippin come across in Fangorn Forest. So this is, again, another kind of foresty greens, but brighter greens this time, with some specks of kind of chocolatey browns in there, and some also little specks of brighter greens and darker greens as well. So that is Treebeard. And then the final colourway in the collection is the Rohirrim, or the Riders of Rohan, which is this gorgeous brown. Now, I'm not a brown person normally, but I love this colourway. I've put in some pinky kind of tones in there. So you've got like these reddish pink sections in there as well, which I think really tones down that brown. And you've also got like the darker speckles of the brown. So this one is inspired by the Rohirrim, who are the horsemen of Rohan. There we go. So yeah, that is the 8 colourways. Each of them comes available, as I said, as a sock set. So what I will do, I'm just trying to keep things organised so that I don't drop yarn everywhere and cause myself chaos. What we'll do is I'll go through, I had an amazing team of sample knitters, and I was really organised for the launch of this collection. So I've actually been able to get various samples knit up, including simple vanilla socks with the contrasts so that you can see the sock sets as well. So I'll share the sock sets and the socks that were knit up, and then you can see like the contrasts as well. So this is Frodo, all knit up. Again, these ones are all just vanilla socks, and we've used the contrast for heels and toes and occasionally cuffs as well. So this is Frodo. Frodo is paired with a bright yellow mini because I wanted to bring in those yellow tones and pick up the colours of the ring in there. So it's got a bright yellow mini. It would work with a couple of the other contrast colourways, but I'll go through that a little bit later when I look at the full skeins. Right, so that's that one. Then we've got Strider. So this is Strider, all knit up. I love how this one looks knit up. I really love these greens. I'm a sucker for greens, I really am. I love this dark, dark green as well that I've used for the heels and toes. So let's see if we can find. So Strider is paired with that one. So there's the sock set combination for Strider, is those two together. Then we've got the Fellowship of the Ring. Here we go. Again, this is one of my favourite combinations. I love this kind of burgundy colour for the heels and toes. I really like that combination. And I like the way they all knit up. I'm so pleased with the whole collection, to be completely honest. But I really like this combination. So that is the Fellowship of the Ring. Whoops. Which is hiding in the bottom of my box, of course. There we go. So it is that combination there. You can see there are some of these, this same colour, some of these burgundy specks in this skein, which is what made me choose this combination. But I really like how they work together. Then we have Legolas. Here he is, all knit up. Again, one of my favourite colours in the collection. I really like how this one works. And here he is, if I can find him. That's the two of those together. So the 100-gram skein and the mini together. Then we have got Isildur's Bane. So I went for a more golden a golden brown mini to contrast for the toes in this one, because the yellow was quite bright, so I wanted to pick up some of those speckle colours, and I think it kind of tones it down slightly as well from being such a bright colourway. So that is this combination here. So there we go, that is Isildur's Bane. These will be available in 70-gram sock sets as well as the 120 grams as well. And also the contrasts, when I put up the contrast colours, I'll make them the option for you to be able to pick another, like a 20-gram mini in addition. So if you wanted to mix the colours a bit, you can order 20-gram minis in the solid colours as well. What's next? Who's next? Merry and Pippin. Merry and Pippin are next. Here is Merry and Pippin all knit up. I've paired Merry and Pippin with a purple mini skein, and I really like how fun and colourful this one is. A lot of the Lord of the Rings colours are quite earthy, because obviously that kind of Middle-earth fantasy world is very kind of nature-based and earthy, and a lot of the tones are quite earthy. So I always quite like it when I can get something a little bit less kind of neutral earthy colours out of the collection. So this one's worked really well. So here again is Merry and Pippin paired with their purple mini. There we go. And then we have Treebeard. I said, didn't I? I'm a sucker for green, so I really do love this one. Here is Treebeard all knit up, and we've gone for that kind of orangey chocolatey brown that you'll spot in some of these speckles, if we can get closer, that matches some of these speckles there as well. So, ouch, caught my finger on the sock blocker. That is this combination here. There we go. So that is Treebeard. And then finally, last but definitely not least, is the Rohirrim, which I paired with a really kind of very, I don't quite know what to call it. I don't want to call it mud brown, because that doesn't sound nice, does it? But it's quite a simple brown, but it really picks up on some of those darker brown speckles in the yarn. So I think it works really, really nicely. So that one is the Rohirrim. And finally, here they are together, Rohan and the Rohirrim, and there's your two together. So that's how the sock set gets made up. And then, as I said, I've gone for contrast colours, which I've made available. I've made all the contrast colours available as 100-gram skeins. So if I go back through, let me get rid of the minis. Try not to drop everything. That's the challenge, isn't it? We'll go back through and I'll share, because a couple of them work well with multiple colours as well. So Frodo, for example, if you didn't want Frodo with the bright yellow that he's paired with in the sock set, although that works really nicely, it is quite a bright combination. Frodo also works quite well with the brown from Treebeard as well. You can see that really picks up these kinds of different coloured bits in there. I wonder if he would work. Oh yeah, nope, and he would work quite. That's not. No, sorry. That's the gold, not the brown. That's the gold from Isildur's Bane at the top there, and he also works really nicely with the brown from Treebeard. And in fact, those three together would work beautifully in a 3-coloured project as well. So yeah, so Frodo definitely goes well. He pairs well with all 3 of those kinds of yellowy brown colours really, really nicely. And then you've got Strider. So Strider is initially paired with the dark green, which is this combination here. But I also think he'd work quite well with the darker brown, which is the Rohirrim colourway. Again, that picks up some of those little brown specks that are in there. And if you wanted something, I'm just looking at the colours now and thinking, would that work? You could probably pair him. Yeah, he would work paired quite well with the teal from, never a good way to hold yarn without dropping it. He'd work quite well paired with the teal from Legolas as well. Again, you can see it's got some of those colours in there. So I think they would be my three recommendations for going with Strider potentially. Are the green that he's paired with in the sock set, the brown, and also potentially the teal if you want something a little bit different. So then we've got the Fellowship of the Ring. Now again, this is one that goes with a few colours. So it's initially paired with the burgundy. Do you know, I haven't named these colours yet, so I need to do that. I need to give these some names because it would make life a bit easier. So it was initially paired with the burgundy, which it works really nicely with. But I also think it could work really nicely with, again, the teal from Legolas. Legolas's teal would work really nicely with it. And I'm wondering about the purple, potentially. Yeah, I think that could work with the purple there as well, because you've got a few areas where the burgundy and the blues mix to bring some of that purple. So if you wanted something a bit different in terms of a contrast, Merry and Pippin's purple could work quite well as well. So yeah, for Fellowship of the Ring, those 3 would be my recommended combinations to go with it. Then we've got Legolas. Oops, I've just dropped one of them, which is paired initially with the teal, as I said before. Legolas could also work quite well with Strider's dark green, because if I show you that side, you've got some of those greeny specks in there as well. So that could work quite nicely. And I'm wondering whether... Yeah, I think probably just those 2 out of that combination would be my recommendations for Legolas. Either of those 2 greens would work really nicely. Of course, you might find you have combinations that you look at and think, actually, I think it would look really nice with that, and that's your preference. These are just my thoughts, my ideas. So the next one is Isildur's Bane, which is paired with that lovely gold colour. And would work quite well. I mean, if you wanted to go really bright, it would obviously work quite well, quite subtle, but it would work quite well with the bright yellow. And I think as well, oops, I'm dropping it now. I think it would also work quite well with Treebeard's brown, because it picks up some of those darker speckles in there as well. So yeah, those are the 3 I would say with Isildur would work quite nicely. And then we've got Merry and Pippin, which, as I said before, is paired with that bright purple. But Merry and Pippin, I think, would also work really nicely with Legolas's teal. That's quite a nice combination. And potentially, right, two more. One of them's a little bit out there, but we'll see. So potentially with Strider's green, I think that combination works quite nicely, because you have got some of those darker green specks in there as well. And then, again, a little bit out there, but I really like the contrast. The Fellowship's burgundy. I think that could work really, really nicely. So four potential suggestions there. See if I can manage to hold all of these up, shall we? No, don't have big enough hands. 4 potential suggestions there to go with Merry and Pippin. And then Treebeard. So Treebeard is paired with this kind of chocolatey orange brown, which works really, really nicely with him. But he could combine quite nicely with the brown of the brown from the Rohirrim, and also Strider's green as well. Would work really nicely. Yeah, potentially also Isildur's gold. Depending on what kind of combination you were looking for, that could work quite nicely as well. So for Treebeard, again, we've got 4 combinations, which is, why am I doing this to myself? Because I can't hold them all up. So there we go, with Treebeard, 4 possible combinations as well. And then the final colourway is the Rohirrim, which is paired with that darker brown colour. So that is the original combination, but I do think that it would work quite nicely. If you wanted something a bit more subtle, it would work very nicely with Treebeard's brown. And just trying to see whether I think it would work nicely with any of the others. No, probably those 2 browns, I think, would be the combination for Rohan. So there we go. So that is all the 100g skeins and the combinations. So I have got them all dyed up on DK as well. As I said, they'll be available on all the different bases. I'm just going to share a couple of the DK ones because I always find it's quite interesting. Oh, I'm dropping everything. Everything's gone down. I always think it's quite interesting to be able to show you how they look slightly different across the different bases. So you've got the 4-ply on the bottom and you've got the DK on the top, and we've swapped there. The speckles on the DK tend to come out slightly bigger because the yarn has a bigger surface area to cover on the speckles and stuff like that. But there we go. So that's just a little combination. They'll all be available on all across all of my bases, as I said, so you can pick and choose. But as often happens, I've just not got I can't dye them up across all of the different bases because it's just too much outlay originally, especially when I'm getting samples done as well. So you won't be able to see photographs of them across all of the bases, but it gives you an idea of how the colourways work, how they knit up and things like that. And you'll get a rough idea, if you know the base that you prefer, how things will work on that base. Right, as well as having them available as 100g skeins, I will, of course, because how could I not, have them all available as mini bundles as well. So you'll be able to order mini bundles of it is 8 colours, so 8 10g minis, 20g minis. I'll offer them on Sparkle. I'll also offer them on DK minis. So they will be available all as mini skeins as well, because how can I resist a mini skein? I love a mini skein. So yeah, mini skeins of all the colours will be available. They won't be available individually. They'll only be available as a pack of mini skeins. Because otherwise when I get an order for an odd number, it doesn't quite work out. So that is that one. Right, and then I wanted to share a few samples that I've had made. I know you've already seen sock samples, but I couldn't resist getting these ones made up as well. So there is a designer called Helen who has a collection. She has lots and lots of sock collections, but she specifically has a collection which is, I think it's called the Fellowship of the Socks or something like that, but it's a Fellowship of the Ring collection basically, and they are all quite complicated cabled patterned sock designs, but they're amazing. She also has a Hobbit section, a Hobbit collection, I believe, and I had a few of those made up for the Hobbit collection earlier in the year, but I couldn't resist getting the Frodo sock knit up. So as you can see, it's got this wonderful kind of lace section up the back of the leg. It's got these fun cabled bits. I wonder if I can spin it round on the thing slightly so you can see the texture of the cable that goes down the front of the leg. So there you go, that's the texture of the cable that goes down the front of the leg. And there's, again, I just like these. I love the patterns. I love the idea that you can do something a little bit more complex and still keep it Lord of the Rings themed if you're looking for a slightly more complicated sock pattern. So we have, of course, got Frodo Baggins, the colourway, knit up into the Frodo socks. She also has a Strider pattern, so we had to do Strider, the colourway, knit up into the Strider socks. I'll take these off the blockers again in a second actually, so that you might be able to see the cables a bit better, but this one features a really complicated kind of crossing over cable at the back of the leg that actually extends all the way down the heel as well, and then just a fun textured pattern along the front of the leg. And then finally, and this one is my favourite, the Legolas socks as well, which features this amazing kind of sweeping lace pattern that starts at the top here and goes down the leg. It wraps around the leg and then continues down onto the top of the foot, if you can see there. And then it's also got this kind of textured cabled pattern as well. I'll pop these off the blockers because actually it might be easier to show you some of the patterns on my hand. Sometimes that shows up a little bit better. So there we go, you can see there the pattern down that twists down the Legolas sock. And again, that extends, that textured pattern extends into the heel there as well, which is really fun. And then the Strider one, you can see, there we go, you'll be able to see that much better. There's the cable pattern that goes down the back of the Strider sock, and then this is the front, the textured pattern on the front of the sock as well. And finally, Frodo. Again, here is, so it features this kind of lace section on the back, you can see there. And then on the front is the cabled bit that goes down the front of the sock as well. So yeah, those three are all patterns by Helen: the Legolas socks, the Frodo socks, and the Strider socks. And then I need to move some socks and move some sock blockers. I've also had a few different shawl patterns made as well. So we've got 3 knitted shawls and 2 crochet shawls. I do have another crochet one on its way to me as we speak, but unfortunately it hasn't arrived yet, and it will need blocking when it gets here, so I wouldn't have been able to really show it anyway, but that's not a problem. I'll get photographs and I will share that on social media. We will start with the knitted ones. So we have got this pattern here. Let me just make sure I get the right side. So this is the Cavill shawl. I'm sure Therese will tell me I'm pronouncing it wrong, which is a pattern by Therese of Brixton Pearl. And it's designed specifically to work with a 120 gram sock set. So you use the 100 gram skein for the main body and then the 20 gram skein for the contrast around the edge. And it's just a lovely kind of textured pattern, really relatively simple. I will say we did have a little bit of an issue. My sample knitter ran out of the contrast with that much left to cast off. So you might just need to be a little bit conscious of your yarn management when you're doing the contrast edge, because yeah, you don't want to end up running out. But that is the Cavill Shawl by Brixton Pearl, and the colours we used is Legolas. So we used the 120 gram Legolas sock set. So it's got the main colour is Legolas, and then it's got the contrast is the mini skein from the sock set. And then we did similar with the next pattern, which is also another Brixton Pearl pattern. It is the Social Bobble Shawl. And we used Fellowship of the Ring and the Fellowship of the Ring contrast. I love how this one's come out. This is such a brilliant use for the sock set. I really, really like how this has worked. So yeah, the main body is just a really simple garter stitch shawl with those central eyelet decreases or increases. Decreases? No, increases. I can't remember. I didn't knit it. It'll be increases, won't they? I don't know. Anyway, so it really shows off the colourway really nicely because it's just simple garter stitch, and then you use the 20 gram mini to do these little rows of bobbles throughout the edge, and then a bobble edge to finish, which works beautifully with this contrast. I think it really, really works particularly well, and I can really see myself actually wearing this one. I really like this one. Yeah. So there we go. So that's the Social Bobble Shawl by Brixton Pearl in the Fellowship of the Ring and the Fellowship of the Ring's contrast. And then again, a simpler one, just a single skein shawl. This is the Kiss Shawl, which is a pattern by Louise Tilbrook. It's a really good one if you don't like long rows in a shawl because it's knit across ways. So the longest point, I haven't actually showed you the whole shawl yet, have I? The longest point is that many stitches. But yeah, here it is. So this is the shawl. It's relatively simple. It features this beautiful little lace edging detail, which is really pretty. And this colourway is Merry and Pippin. For a single skein shawl, do you know, it's actually a really reasonable size. I'm not generally a single skein shawl person. I like a big cosy shawl, but actually for a single skein, this is actually a really nice size. So yeah, that is that one. That is the Kiss Shawl by Louise Tilbrook, and we used Merry and Pippin. It's a really good shawl if you've got one of those special skeins that you don't quite know what to do with. You don't want to put it on your feet, but you want to create something that uses that and shows the yarn off to the best of its ability. I believe... No, that's the other pattern. Ignore me. So this one is a stocking stitch shawl. So again, it gives you an idea. It shows the yarn off slightly differently with the fact that you've got stocking stitch instead of garter stitch for it. So that is that one. And then we're on to crochet patterns. I've got 2 crochet patterns that I had made and have visible here for you. I'll tell you what the other one is so you can look it up because it's going to look amazing. So the first one is this one here. This is a little shawl called Spun Gold. And we used the Isildur's Bane colourway because, you know, that seemed a very appropriate spun gold and a colourway inspired by a golden ring. Again, it's a nice little shawlette that kind of works really nicely, really simple kind of pattern. And it just creates this kind of, it's got this longer section, wider section in the middle. It's quite nice and long. And there we go. So I'll bring it a bit closer so you can see. So yeah, this is the Spun Gold by Cat Golding, if I can actually speak. And we used Isildur's Bane for that one. And then the final pattern is I've turned my page over. I had them written down. There we go. The Fog Break Shawl. That's it. I can never remember what this one's called. This is the Fog Break Shawl. Again, it's another pattern by Cat Golding, and it uses 2 colours. So we used, the Rahirim and Treebeard in this one together, which I think gives a really nice effect. This actually, it used most of the Rahirim, but it only used about 20 grams of the Treebeard colourway. It's a really nice light shawl. It needs a really good block to open up this, I've forgotten what Ali called it. Is it broomstick lace, I think, in the crochet terms? It's a really interesting stitch. But it creates a nice sized shawl. Lost the end. There we go. I quite like those colours actually. There we go. So yeah, that is another sample to give you an idea of how the things can be worked up, in this case in crochet as well as knitting. The other pattern that is on its way to me is the Franz Shawl, which is a pattern by Joanne Scrace. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, who's part of the Crochet Project. And it's a 2-colour DK crocheted shawl, which we used 2 skeins of Strider in DK. And it has kind of prongy bits. I don't know. If it arrives in the post today, which it may very well do, then I might try and add in a little bit of video to show it off, but it won't be blocked. But that's fine. We'll still be able to give you a bit of an idea for it. But yeah, there we go. That is the whole collection. I'm really excited about the launch of this collection. I feel like the combination of adding the 100-gram skeins is going to work really well, having the sock sets as an option. There's just so much choice for you. So yeah, I hope it works well. The samples have been really nice. I'm still sharing stuff on social media. So you'll see loads of posts and stuff going up in the next kind of few days before the launch. And then I'll probably keep sharing some of the samples after the launch as well. So the collection launches on Friday, 7th of July at 7:30 p.m. British Summer Time. As I said, it is a pre-order. The pre-order will be open for 2 weeks because I'm going on holiday in the middle of the 2 weeks. So I didn't want the hassle of having to close it while I was away. So I will leave it open for 2 full weeks. And then I will close it, and then the yarn will be shipping on the 18th. Yes, the 18th of August. The yarn will ship on the 18th of August. So it's 4 weeks from when the pre-order closes, basically. So if you order on the first day, it'll be 6 weeks. But if you order towards the end of the pre-order, it'll be 4 weeks. So it's a 4-week turnaround from when the pre-order closes, which should be quite nice and manageable, even during the school holidays when I have the chaos of my children at home. So yeah, I hope that has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the collection and everything like that. And as I said, there will be a part 2 to the Lord of the Rings collection, but that will be coming out in December. I'm looking at my calendar and trying to see, oh no, November. It'll be launching in November. It'll be shipping in December. So according to my wall calendar at the moment, pre-orders for that one should be opening around the 17th of November. I'm not sure if that'll be accurate, or whether I might move those dates by a week or 2, something like that. It'll just depend on how my November goes, really. But yeah, this collection, part 1 of the Lord of the Rings collection will be launching on Friday. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed getting to see the colourways a bit more close up and things like that. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye.